Yay!
There's always the first, like, wait, is it recording? Is this thing
It
on? And
is recording.
I feel like my mom. So, welcome to another conversation between the psychic and the skeptic. Today's topic, I know, is going to probably be heated because we're going to be talking about soulmates today. And I know for a fact that Mina and I have our own viewpoints on soulmates.
We do.
And I know as a psychic, you've probably done many readings where somebody says, when am I going to find my soulmate?
So many times. That is the most common reading. When's the next love coming? Where's my soulmate?
Yeah. And here's the thing is that as a psychic, I'm sure you can tell somebody, well, this is when your next, lover is going to come, but I can't tell you what it's going to be like. He or she could just be like, a blip in the radar, or they could be the real thing. You never quite know. So, but what I find really interesting about soulmates is that it comes from this whole idea of something called the soul contract. And, if you believe this stuff, take it or leave it. But it's just something that I found really resonated with me was this whole idea.
Enlighten me. I'm ready.
So the whole idea of a soul contract is that before you're born, you kind of go through this whole rigmarole of what are you going to do in this life on a soul level. Like you're going to go through we're all here to go through some sort of human experience. We're supposed to go and do and accomplish certain things that are kind of considered our soul contract. But in that contract, you come across different people, different souls throughout your lifetime that are supposed to be connected to you in a certain way. And there's just different definitions of what soulmates are. Because there's I got on the interwebs and there's probably 12 different versions of a soulmate. So
I guarantee you, mine is even more different than theirs.
Yeah. So it's just the way I like to see it is a soulmate could basically be anybody that comes into your life and has some sort of profound effect, even if it's just somebody who, that HR person who calls you up and says, hey, we want to interview you for this job. And it turns out being the pinnacle of your career. They were part of your soul contract. They were supposed to meet you. They were supposed to have this happen. But at the same time, it's up to you about how deep you want to go. And there's always the free will conversation. But I kind of liked that idea of, people come into your life when they're supposed to, and then they go when they're supposed to.
We can have the destiny free will conversation another time.
Let's but that's essentially the idea, is that you have a soul contract. You're supposed to meet and do certain people and do certain things
and do them.
And hopefully do them, with it. Well. So what is your interpretation of a soulmate or a soul contract?
No, let's tell me the twin flame thing. Because you Googled it, right? Or whatever. Okay, I want to know what it said. Because
I hate the term twin flame, and I don't know why. I just find it.
I'm not a fan.
It's so saccharine in my head, and
I don't know what that means.
It's so sweet and syrupy, or completely tortured and glorifying. Why do people call me when we are on this freaking thing? I'm gonna turn my phone off. I don't know who this is. But the whole idea is that the twin flame, what I was reading, is it was basically you were two people, but at one point you were one soul and you were split.
Oh.
So there are two twin flames. So the twin flames would be basically being, the other half of your soul and another person. And you meet each other and you're melded together forever. And that whole you complete me crap. I just I can't get behind it. That's just something I vehemently don't understand. But that was kind of the general idea. But what I really appreciated about this page that I saw was that they were just saying, yeah, there's such a thing as a twin flame, but please don't rely on that. They're very, 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 very rare. And it shouldn't be glorified.
Which it is so much.
So glorified.
Yeah.
So I think when people think of the stereotypical soulmate, that's what they're thinking of. But it's so rare. It's so uncommon. It's not something that I think you should even be looking for. And that's kind of the disclaimer that this page said from another psychic. And I was like, I really appreciate people saying that, because it's like, you got to go live your own life. You can't be
Right.
just, thinking you met somebody and, well, that's it. Off to the sunset. We're going to ride our horse off into the sunset and live happily ever after and have 30,000 babies or whatever, or 30,000 dogs.
Okay, I'm ready though. Ready.
So tell me what.
All right. So years ago, I went on this because I was, I read the books, I did all the things. I was like, oh, I want to meet my soulmate, and I was that girl. I was totally that girl. And so I went on this meditation adventure, if you will, and I was searching for it. And I was searching for what the definition was of soulmate, to God, to heaven, to the all, whatever you want to, whatever words you want to use. Okay. So, and I just drew it out really, really fast. And so the numbers, the numerical amount that you're going to see of the dots is not exact. And maybe one day I'll put it in a book, the exact amount. Okay. Okay. So here is my drawing. All right. So I said, what is soulmates? Right. And so this is what I was shown. So if you'll notice, there's an outside circle, and the outside circle is connected. The next circle is connected, and then the next one's broken, very important. And then you have a connected one, you have an inner broken one, and then you have what people would say just two, where's my finger? Like where they can say twin flame or whatever. You know what? Bygones. So here it is. Okay, so now I'm going to explain it. So let's say that there is approximately, and I'm just going to use this number, there's approximately 70. Okay, so we have 70 soulmates. These are all your soulmates, all of them. Now, what is very important is that you notice, okay, so on the outer circle, those people you're going to have a connection with, you're going to totally you'll be on a certain kind of wavelength with. And you'll be like, dude, we're homies. Let's go surfing together. Yeah, we laugh together. We have a great time together. It doesn't have to be opposite sex. It's nothing like that. Sex is irrelevant. Okay, continue going closer and closer. We're getting a more stronger connection, right? But then don't forget, we have these broken ones. Oh, so freaking important. And why is this important? It's because there is still a strong connection, extremely strong connection, but that is the worst person you could be with, because it is a very unhealthy relationship. So, when we go into these relationships and we're like, oh, but they're my soulmate, and I just know that they're my soulmate. Oh, they might be your soulmate, but that doesn't mean they're in the right circle. That doesn't mean they're in the healthiest relationship for you. So yes, in the inner circle, there is one. But, and I don't know, I guess I would have to meditate on it to answer whether I believe that it's the whole split up thing. I look at it more as like a cell, this was like a cell, and we go inside the cell. And everybody's cell is different. That's how I see it.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know you don't do all of this, because I'm definitely the one of the two of us that will dive into the research and books. And,
well, I do, but through meditation.
Trying to make sense of everything and analyze everything. But it's interesting because what you just said, you just explained about 3 or 4 different soulmate types. So there's the kindred spirit,
right,
which is considered somebody that, I'm going to take my glasses off so you can see my eyes. So the kindred spirit is considered somebody that you understand. Like you understand each other, and there's this connection, and it's like, yeah, let's go surfing, let's go do this, that, and the other thing. And then there's also the karmic soulmate, which I kind of like that name. And I think you and I have had about 30 of them in between the two of us. But it's like the idea that you meet somebody, there's this great connection, you think, oh my gosh, they're my soulmate, and then they just totally devastate you.
Yeah.
Or there's just something that just completely crumbles, and you're like, but that's what they're there to do. Mm-hmm. They're there to wake you up.
Help you grow.
To grow, and it hurts. Sometimes learning and growing is not comfortable.
Or walk away from.
Yeah. Or, you find, because I've had a couple of karmic soulmates in the last, I don't know, say 5 years or so. I've walked away from all of them. And it's like, every time you walk away, you find more strength. You find more of who you are. And it's like you start to get a little bit more okay and self-sufficient and independent. And I do believe that when you really find that sweet spot of, I'd love to have somebody, but I don't need somebody.
Yeah.
That's when you're probably more likely to find the real soulmate, because you're not putting labels on people. You're just seeing them for who they are. And then you just move on.
Well, right. So, okay. So now these people don't mean they're alive at the exact same time you are. This might be somebody from 1970 and this might be somebody from the 2000, like that was born. This isn't like at this exact moment in time. That doesn't mean they're all alive. And so I don't like the word twin flame, your innermost soulmate is what I say. May be alive right now, may not. Regardless. So, I'm back there and I'm in this meditation. I was like, okay, so I'm dead set on finding my soulmates. And I was so blessed. I got to meet a multitude of them. It was wonderful. I still to this day don't believe I've met the innermost one. But I have met a lot of these, and it's just been, and even the broken circle one, let's not talk about that one right now. And it has been amazing. Most of them ended up being healers. Some went into Western medicine, some went into Eastern medicine, some were shaman trained. We all followed a very similar life. And it was awesome. And I thought, when I first experienced it, I was like, oh, that means I have to be with them, because like, ooh, we should get together. And I first started to like flirt, but then I was like, they're happy. They're content with and I was like, that's not what this is. It's simply recognizing we are on that wave together. We are in the same molecule.
Yeah.
I will use that word.
And to be perfectly honest, I'm sure it gets kind of boring. If you meet the same people and you're all on the same wavelength and you're doing the same stuff, and it's like, okay. After a while, I was like, I kind of want to go meet other interesting weirdos out there. And that's what I always think that, when people, so I have my own little anecdote, and this is terrible.
Tell me.
I'm such a jerk. So I am always for, give me a quest to go and find some sort of level of enlightenment. And I went with a friend of mine, my friend Joe. I can say his name because I think he's totally open to this, but he's always the friend that goes and does weird stuff with me and doesn't question it, and I love him for it. But he's a writer, so he's usually, I think, already being sent out on these quests. But I said, you know what? I'd really like to go to a sweat lodge. I want to try that. Do you think there's one around here in Los Angeles? He's like, in Los Angeles? Probably. It's probably not what we think it's going to be. Sure enough, I show up in Thousand Oaks in some guy's backyard. This guy's Irish. He gave himself like a Native American kind of spirit name. And I was just like, okay, at the very least, just let's do this. And the whole idea is that you're sitting in this yurt kind of thing where the heat gets really intense, and you do 3 rounds. I can't exactly tell you which one comes first, but the whole idea is that, these are the things I want to give up. This is what I want for other people around me. And this is what I'm willing to do for the universe in return. So there's 3 different rounds, and each person goes around in this sweat lodge, and you talk about something that you really are what your intention is. And it's great because it's dark, nobody can see you, but you get to hear people's stories, which is really great on some level. And so we got to this one girl.
I think I remember the story. Continue.
Bless her heart. I'm not from the South, but this is one of those moments where I'm like, she goes, yeah, so I really want to meet my soulmate. And I have this boyfriend, and I kind of like him, and I don't know if he's my soulmate. And I was just like, and this is something I learned when you have me in really hot, kind of sweaty situations. I got the worst case of the giggles. I started giggling completely, and I just heard Joe going, and he's like usually right there. They're just going, shut up, just shut up. And I'm like, this is so fucking ridiculous. What? Because it's like we just gone around this circle, and one lady was like, yeah, my mom just died. I found out I have stage 3 cancer.
Right. Real
That's
things.
a real thing. That's
Yeah.
something you want to work on that you were spiritually going with. But this poor girl, I was just like, and that's where you're at that age. I kind of, in retrospect, I'm like, well, that's just kind of where you're at.
How old was she? Did you say how old
Probably
she
like
was?
23, 24. And she legit, that was the voice that came out. And I couldn't stop laughing. And my thoughts were, after, I was like, what were you thinking? You were just laughing uncontrollably at this poor girl's problems. And I'm like, oh, I'm such an asshole. But the only thought that happened for me was, if you are willing to sit in 5 hours of sweat with other people to find out whether or not this dude is your soulmate, who I'm pretty certain would never do the same in return, the answer is probably no. I don't think you need to go sit in 5 hours and sweat that out to figure that out.
I don't.
But I think that's why I have a little bit of that jaded mentality when it comes to soulmates, because it's just like, who cares? We shouldn't be putting so many labels on people and our relationships to them.
Is it a healthy relationship?
Yeah.
So much more important.
Yeah.
Right, we went through these lists. Do they support you? And we mean more emotionally support you. Do they hold you up? Are you more successful when you're with them? Do you feel like you don't have to fix them?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and those are the things that I think you and I have both kind of touched upon, because we've had our own trials and errors with relationships. and and I know I sound silly just by giggling about that, but it's like, after a while, you start to just, each one requires a little bit more of it, this inner reflection. Who I was at 23 is definitely not how I look at relationships at age something. And I just feel like when you walk in, you have this instant connection with somebody. You feel like, you have this moment where you're like, wow, I've never met somebody like you before, and I feel like I've known you forever. It's really easy to start labeling them as the one, or putting these labels on somebody before you even really get a chance to know them. And that's why I feel like when people say, oh, well, am I going to find my soulmate? They've already are dead in the water, because you're really looking for it, and you're like, you can be projecting this onto somebody and not even realizing it.
One of the most recent soulmates, it's been a couple of years since we've talked, but I've remained friends with all of them. All the ones that were in the regular connecting circles. Anyways, he says to me, I had showed him this diagram of soulmates and blah, blah, blah. And he says to me, well, I think that maybe these ones, we're just supposed to actually be great friends. He's like, I think that this means that why date our replicas, so to speak, like let's, and we've had an amazing friendship, and it's just been awesome, but yeah.
And that was the thing that I realized, that it's okay for a soulmate to be many different things. So you can have somebody that starts off as a lover, then you end up being friends later.
Yeah, totally
okay. Or like for me, I've always noticed that soulmates show up right when I feel like I'm at wit's end. A new one shows up. So for instance, I would consider you a kindred, or what else? What are they called? Companion soulmates is what they're called.
We've been married before, right? I think we were married. So in a previous life, just to be clear.
Yeah. So the whole thing was that I had a psychic reading once with a friend of mine who's a shaman in Pasadena, and he was like, "Yeah, you and your friend Mina, you guys have had several lives together, and he's like, you guys were married, and you were so funny. You were like, yeah, I was the dude, and I was like, actually, you weren't. I was the dude. What?
Yeah, you're the dude.
But I just like hearing about that, because sometimes there are people you meet in life that you just feel like you've already known before, or you've known for a long time, or you're on the same wavelength. And sometimes it's a sign that maybe you've known each other in a past life. I like the idea that there is such a thing as a soul family or soul group. So you have, sometimes you show up in your family to be the messenger of healing for past traumas in your family, or, you know, that sort of idea that you come from different soul tribes and that we're all here to do different things. We're supposed to come across different people when we're supposed to. I had one where I was like completely devastated in my own little world, and I'm pretty certain I looked like complete crap. And out of nowhere, this guy goes, "Hey, we know the same people." And I was like, "Okay. And who are you?" He's a nice enough guy, but I was like, "Why is this gorgeous man talking to me? I don't understand what's happening." And then we just kind of had this friendship where it just kind of kept evolving. And I wasn't forcing it. It was just one of those things where we had a great friendship, and you know, we have each other's backs, and it's really great. So it's just like when you force the word twin flame or soulmate, I just feel like you're projecting something that you really want because you're not willing to go within yet.
I feel like you say the word soulmate, it can be any of them. You know, it's in that molecule. And to me, it's like there's not an attachment to it for me the same. Like, and it took me a while though, don't get me wrong. It took me years to get through this because I could see them. I could feel them. I could, you know, with the soulmates that I've actually connected with, I still, you know, sometimes we accidentally walk together at night. You know, most of them are walkers. And the ones that dove into their spirituality a little bit also, they're walkers. And so, you know, it's kind of cool. But that's it. We're just friends. I'm like, those are cool guys.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if I ever met my inner one. I don't think so. I would know. I would definitely know. But met the broken ones and just walk away.
The broken ones, and that was the thing that always got me, and I think it's because we kind of grew up in the 90s where tortured hearts were glorified. You know, that people just say, "It's my soulmate, and I'm willing to throw myself on the sword to do whatever I can to keep him, and but I need to be with somebody," and it's like, no, you really don't. You really don't. And and the older I get, the more, because I showed you this clip, I'll put it on our page of Cher talking to Jane Pauley, and Jane Pauley saying, like, "Aren't you kind of bitter when it comes to men?" She's like,
yeah.
She's like, "I love men. I think men are the coolest, but I don't need them to live." She's like, "They're great, you know, but, you know, if you don't make me feel good, if you don't make me feel like I'm showing up as a better version of myself, and me doing the same in return, then this doesn't need to be a thing." And she was like, and my mom used to always say, like, "Don't you want to grow up and marry a rich man?" And she's like, "I am a rich man, Mom."
I love that. I
Like,
love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just think you are probably much more likely to find that soulmate that's in your, you know, your inner tiny realms if you're really okay with just going, "Hey, it is what it is. I love you, but I love me as well." And, you know, when I'm not coming from a place of, "I need you, I need, fill my soul, fill my heart, fill my everything," or whatever it is that you want to say spiritually, that's not an okay place to be, to have any sort of really healthy relationship.
Because you have to feel it yourself.
Yeah. You
You
really
have to feel complete yourself.
Yeah. Or there's so many times where because I was in a relation, I was a serial monogamist for about 14 years. And it was just like, I'd have a month or two off in between relationships, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm going to get back to myself." And I'd start to get into this little routine, and then somebody would show up, and I was like, "God damn it." But as I got older, I was like, "God damn it." I was able to take that step back during that infatuation phase and go, "Is this really going to work for me?" And I think that was the discussion that you and I have had of when you show up to a relationship, you have to ask yourself, if they were to never change,
Yeah. So important.
they were to stay
Never
the same
change.
forever, would you be happy with this?
That is a question, something that has to stick
Yeah.
in
You're
cement.
you're never gonna change.
That's how I felt about that.
Because you're never gonna change somebody. You should never want to change somebody, because all of a sudden that turns into you forcing
Yep.
somebody to be something that they're not.
Yep.
It turns you into forcing a label onto somebody. You could say, this guy's my twin flame, but he'd be great except if he did X, Y, and Z.
No, and we put up with it, right? But he's my soulmate. I've had so many people come to me and they're just like, but he's my soulmate. So it's gonna work. We're gonna make it work. And it's like, no, don't do that to you. Don't.
You have such a short amount of time on this planet. Is pretty much how I see it, at least in each lifetime. It's totally okay to just say, is this going to hold me back from all the stuff I feel like I'm meant to do? Yep. Is this going to hold me back from my soul contract? Or is this should this have been a blip in my soul contract when in essence it became, 10 years? Mm-hmm. It's up to you. But at the same time, it's like I discover people from love, because I've also seen, I do think I've seen some really close soulmates in my own.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some healthy relationship ones. Like, I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm just saying don't hold your breath and don't just wait for that, or stick with them and they're treating you like crap, and it's the broken circle. The broken circle exists. So, leading from that, we plan on doing a fun tarot card reading, right? Is that what we're going to do later? Yeah, that's our next.
We're going to decide what my next soulmate's going to look like.
Yeah, so this will be like A and B.
So I will say, though, for those that are going to go and do tarot readings, or those that go and do readings, and you ask, when am I going to find my soulmate? That is really just losing $60 to $100. It really is.
I worked for California Psychic Source. I don't remember that one. I think that's the name. Kasamba, Psychic Today. Yeah, I worked for 4 different psychic hotlines. And then I did my own stuff. And the 95% of everyone that called would ask the same question and would always ask about love. Always. 95% of the population out there is more concerned with when they're going to find the next person than, Anyways, so we'll talk about that on the next one.
Well, and it's like, they're always just going to say something like, when am I going to find my next person? And it's like, well, you're going to find the same person that you just dated, but in it with a different face. Because you're not healing you. The more you choose you, the more you start to learn about yourself, the more you decide what your boundaries are, what you're willing to deal with, what you're willing to not deal with. And your relationships become healthier as long as you become healthier. So I always think that that's a big thing. I don't know if I would have had the patience. I probably now. I mean, at the time, I probably would have been like, oh yeah. But I love doing those. Like when you do a tarot reading, it's way more fun because.
Well, we'll talk about that in the next one.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay. All right.
All right.
We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and let us know what your definition of soulmate is.
No. And have you met somebody that you feel is your soulmate, and why?
Yep. Okay.
I want people to find soulmates, but I also want them to do it in a healthy way.
Yes, agreed.